It's a beautiful day to blaze some good, a beautiful day to blaze some good. Would you be kind? Please light mine.
Roll up.
Welcome to a new episode of Beans and Greens. Um, you know what it is. It's more of the same conspiracy movies, and I think I have a other segment that I haven't filmed in a while, so I'll probably do that for. I got one more movie that I'm gonna probably try to cram in for this week, and then the next one will be my Laughing with Ghosts pod. I find a comedian to laugh with. Probably do something else with probably something else with Patrice. Maybe. I don't know. Anyway, beans and greens. So for tonight, I'm actually not drinking 7-Eleven coffee, but I do love the 7-Eleven coffee. This is Nescafe. I just put it in the cup that I was using from my old cup of 7-Eleven. But drinking that and then smoking on some Chem Dog, smoking again. So sort of cut back a little bit on how much I've been smoking, and oh well. I mean, that's part of what this channel's about. Getting a little, you know, getting a little up there. So anyway, yeah. So the movie for this week, um, it's it fits the times we're dealing with now. Well, let's look back the last fucking what, I don't know, since shit, it's 26 5-6 years. When did we start taking a jab? Was it what, 2019? First, that whole time frame. So basically, this movie is about pharmaceuticals. But it's from. Okay, so I gotta admit, this movie was kind of hard. Because those of us who are, I would say, anybody over 35, remembers on TV they used to have these commercials, right? And it was in Africa, and you had all these people that were starving, and they showed all these starving people, and it was an advertisement. Send in 6 cents a month, and it would feed a child. Okay. So we always looked at that, and it's like, how does that area become that? What is it? What is it about these people that, how do I have food, but what happened to them in a whole other country with the abundant resources? I never thought of it like with abundant resources. The idea of resources at the time wasn't something that was in my head. I just thought, fuck it, I go to the refrigerator when I need food, and we didn't have like AC or anything back then because in New York, but we had indoor, so when it rained, we were indoors. When it was too sunny, too hot, it was, whatever. We had a place to go. Clothes. We had all the things we needed. But why didn't these people? Oh. You come to I come to the ages now as I get older, and I start to realize this isn't something that just out of nowhere happened to these people. These were conditions that were put upon them. And this movie we're talking about kind of gives an idea of one aspect of it. Now, there are many reasons why this happened, but Let me show the movie. So now the movie's The Constant Gardener, right? So there's a the few. This is just this overall like somber, not yeah. It's somber. It's sad. It's not big on action. It's a tale, right? It's not based on any actual. It's just sort of semi bio, sort of real. You know what I mean? I mean, it was based on events, not specific, but they built a story around these events, and part of that story is this love story that was sort of, I mean, just fucking sad. So obviously that's not the part I want to focus on. You have to integrate that into it, but just to sort of circle back. Oh yeah, and by the way, anybody watching this, certainly could do a favor and maybe I don't know, subscribe. I don't know. I had one short video that I got like 45,000 views. Whatever, I'm not 45,000, 4,500. So even just a small portion of that would have subscribed. I'd reach my goal of 1,000. But anyway, I digress. So let's circle back to the beginning of these conditions that were sort of thrust upon these I mean human beings. These are we're talking about humans, people, and this sort of a situation is just upon it. But okay, so what we have, took notes. What we have in the middle of, I don't know. I don't really. It's. I'm gonna be honest. I do my research. I do my work, and it's really hard to talk about. It's not because I don't know how to put a cohesive thought together, but it's just hard, man. I mean, even after watching it, I've had some time since watching it, and that feeling still lingers. Now, after a while, you walk away from it. It's sort of out of sight, out of mind. Just the movie, because the circumstances that are described in this movie is real. It's going on right now. I mean, so we're looking at these past 5 years, right? We had the pharmaceutical companies that are presenting these medicines, and in the movie, the same thing, right? You have these pharmaceutical companies that have this medicine, and it's supposed to be a wonder medicine to fight tuberculosis. Now, these corporations are already in Africa, a country riddled with AIDS and other diseases, and just poverty stricken. Now, going back to the beginning, I said these things are thrust upon these human beings that are living in these countries and this continent, is because what we know from these corporations and NGOs and all these whatever entities that they've created, they've stripped these lands of all its resources, or whatever resources is there. They've taken control of it and have monetized it only to their, and then left everybody else destitute. Created sort of I mean, you create sort of, not only do you steal all of the resources or the value of these resources to enrich yourselves, but then you also cause infighting and strife within the groups themselves. And you do see that come to play sort of at the end of the movie in a real sad way, right? It goes to the realities that these human beings are subjected to. So not only of the corporations through time, that we're not going back. I mean, you have all these people that are rocking the Rhodes scholarships. I know of one black doctor on a Rhodes scholarship, but understand that Rhodes scholarship is in the name of somebody who was that very person that precipitated or I don't know, maybe I'm using that word wrong. Maybe not. But either way, he was one that started or is very big in in the stripping of the resources of Africa. Not only just stripping, but just the downright murder and slaughter of millions and millions and millions and millions of black men and women and children in order to secure those resources. And they have these corporations. I think it was De Beers. Anyway, the diamonds and oil and all kinds of all kinds of. I mean, anyway, you know what I'm saying. All kinds of. So you have that. So let's fast forward it because we're talking about the 1800s. I think maybe even beyond, maybe way before the 1800s. I'm probably this back then, way back then. But let's forward it to modern times, because and not our modern times, but the times in this movie, which when you bring it to modern times, it's going to be even more fucked up, because you have now these corporations that create these medicines. Now they need to know and create a case for the world that these medicines work. So that this company in this movie, so they can raise their stock prices and they're gonna get rich on the fact that this medicine actually works. But what we see in this movie is, in order for them to reach that goal, they have to test it out. And here in America, if you test out drugs on, used to be, if you test out these medicines on animals, you have PETA that would step in. Now, I think that still happens, but as far as testing it on humans, it wasn't necessarily a thing back then. That changed. But anyway, I digress. These corporations, they're in Africa, and not only have they, through the years, stripped the Africans of identity as well as resources, in many cases, provoked civil wars that's killed thousands upon millions of lives, of souls, that could have worked towards the betterment of the continent and the people, but gone for monetary gains. So they need to test that. And of course, you got the Africans. Who's going to say anything about these savages, right? This is what they think of us. I mean, I know what they think of us here in America. I mean, I'm not African, but so what the movie is, you have this diplomat from England, and he has his wife. Now, this wife is very much so involved in bringing to light what this corporation is doing to these African countries. And make no mistake, they, just because we're talking about companies and you would think of, businessmen as being ethical, these are the biggest gangsters. These are gangsters that are even more deadlier than, think of your deadliest street gang. Now imagine that mentality with access to government, with government backing. You know what I mean? You get assassins from or the killers from some street gang. They're nothing compared to corporate assassins and motherfuckers could have they can blow up your house. Not even they don't even have to be by your house. They can be in a whole nother state, a whole nother country, and then you just blow up your house. And who's gonna give a fuck? You know what I mean? Who's gonna give a fuck? And then we see that displayed in this movie because the wife of this diplomat uncovered what was going on. And what was going on was this company was testing this TB medicine on these populations. And people were dying from this medicine. And in order for them to present it to the world, in order to get money from it and to raise stock prices, they had to present positive data. They had to show that this medicine worked, and they were going to hide their losses at all costs. And in the movie, they kill to keep that information quiet. Now, this is a movie, and this is all grand, sort of musing, you know what I mean? So the information at the end of the movie does come out, not by, obviously, our main protagonist, because, like I said, these corporations will do anything to protect that information, and both of them just... And it was the people they worked with around them that was diming them out. You see what I'm saying? It wasn't just business interest, but business. It wasn't just business interests that were involved in this circle of not only protecting the information and protecting the company, but it was also like the MI6, which is basically England's version of CIA, FBI. So this is how deep this goes. Now, in the movie, of course, you have personal, you have a personal effect to the protagonist. They suffered based off this information because they actually died. But these human beings that were subjected to this testing, not of their own will, had to live with the consequences of not only testing for this TB medicine, but let's talk about the AIDS. We and I touched on this in the watching the movie. So anyway, this is a continent that's riddled with. There's two communities, and this is real world. This is not movie. But it's a similar circumstance. Two communities that were affected by AIDS the most: the African community, and the African continent. Not even just the communities, because there's multiple communities. I mean, thousands of different communities, but not just that. But it was the gay community. Those two communities were affected the most by HIV, which led to AIDS. Now, were these communities that the shit just popped up out of the blue? I mean, we know from this movie that you had your corporations go into these countries and basically inoculate citizens. I mean, it was lines of people standing to get this medicine. And we know, I mean, they've always perpetrated the whole idea that in Africa, it was Africans were fucking monkeys, and monkeys. Well, okay, so one was that Africans were fucking them, and the other one was that they were eating monkeys, which I have a hard time. I have a hard time with either. And he's a joke from David Chappelle. He talks about that like a monkey's just gonna, I'm not gonna go over the whole joke. You just watch the special, but like a monkey's just gonna let you just fuck it. You know what I mean? And then they never really, at least I've never had it intimated to me, as far as how it came into the gay community. I mean, I guess from what I understood, it just because of the way it just happened to come out of nowhere, right? But we know that's not right. We know that with HIV/AIDS, that was at least conspiratorially, because again, this is a conspiracy podcast, that this was something, again, as all other viruses was created. I speculate who it was created by. 3-letter agencies: CIA, FBI, NSA, any one of those, right? They create these diseases, these viruses. Then they go into these communities, identified, because they've been testing these communities and using these different communities and countries and communities for years. We go back to testing with MK Ultra and all of that. But anyway, so you figure a continent with like Africa, right? You inject HIV/AIDS into sort of one community, of course it's going to spread. What do they know about condoms? What do they know about HIV/AIDS to begin with? This is something that, boom, comes out of nowhere, right? Nobody educates them, and then now it's just, and then the same thing with the gay community, right? Because of the fact that what they do seems to be risky, at least in order for them to in order to get that virus. If you inject that virus into one small set or one small area, it will spread out, right? And now we know that how that ties, all of that ties into modern times now is, and this is one thing that the gay community was sort of definitely on top of, was Fauci. Because there is footage of them protesting Fauci because of the medicines for the virus that was killing people, because they created sort of hope that this medicine would work, and it didn't. And then we fast forward that to 2019, 2020 with the vid. Who's at the head of that? Fauci. And now in Africa, right? They were this is the fucked up shit. they were forced in the movie. They were forced to take that coerced into taking, the vaccine for the TB medicine, and I surmise same thing as far as with whatever it was that put AIDS into the community. And then we fast forwarded to that time frame, our time frame now, same thing, coerced, sort of pushed, nudged into willingly now being the test subject for see the movie just created a story around this whole dilemma, this whole crisis, this whole scenario. The movie itself at least let us know or gave us a vehicle to understand it, or gave us insight into basically what these companies are doing, or how they do it. Now, it's important. I should have did this ahead of time. Oh well. Now, it's important to know and to understand that one, these corporations do this stuff all the time, right? Two, it doesn't just have to be with pharmaceuticals. It isn't just pharmaceuticals. Three, there ain't a fucking thing we can do about it. That's the one thing about doing these podcasts that sort of is a bummer. It's a bummer because I have to say that, and I've said that a few times. I don't remember every time I've said it because I've said it in a few different podcasts. There ain't shit we can do about any of this. And it's not even a matter of not being able to do anything about it. It's about, is there will, which there is none. When Marvel made Captain America, the first Avengers, and Loki goes into the town, he starts to take over the town square, and he tells them that people want a king, they want to be ruled. For the most part, that's right. There is no will. There is no will to want to change anything, and I think that one side, I hate to just throw up like racism all the time as sort of a scapegoat, but I think for one side to accept what's going on politically in this country now is due to previous administrations, one, feeling disenfranchised in those previous administrations, two, being disenfranchised by a prior administration because the face that was on that administration wasn't right. And then the administration preceding, I'm talking about Democratic administration preceding that, the one with the vid, with the social changes, and a black vice president. It was the same thing. It was the wrong faces. And trust me, there was a lot about that administration I didn't like. But our other side of the argument, those of us in this country who are for the administration now, they see that in the administration, they see themselves in these people. And, that this administration, as we see it right now, are going after or using race. I mean, let's be straight. This administration is about taking everything from any gains that black people have made in this country. They've been taking everything away. That's just what it is. We talk about the protests in the college, and we had the college president. Now and she was black, and she was upholding the constitutional laws. No longer there, and all of the businesses and government we're all taken out of. And we could talk about museums. We could talk about all different areas, right? So supporters of this political administration, you know, have that to fall back on, because that's what it is, especially when it comes to black people. It's rabid when it comes to black people, because you look at the movies, right? Let's look at Rings of Power. They despise Rings of Power. And they can say, oh, well, because the story and this, that, and the other. No, it's because there's no black people in any of Tolkien's writings. So let's not forget about all of the great shit they put in the Rings of Power. Whatever. I mean, I can go on and on with when it comes to like nerd shit, like Marvel, like how basically the cucking Sam Wilson's Captain America. Um, and it seems now more that at least as far as like and again, just a tangent. It seems that no, it seems that more now that Marvel is getting this black problem in line, because let's just face it, that was one of the big problems with the last section of Marvel movies. I think there was too many of us in it. That was, I mean, I'm sorry for saying that, but I mean, this is all I hear. I watch all the nerd channels, or used to anyway. And every time a movie comes out, every time a video game comes out, anything that they put a black person in, it's all of the channels have. So the big thing is now 007, right? They tried to say, oh, people are hating the game, or there was a lot of towards the, in the game because of there's some bugs in the game, and then also the race swaps. Let's get it right, because two of the NPCs are in the movies are white but aren't white, but everybody else is white. So let me. It's like I'm going on this tangent now. I mean, I don't. I've never had a complaint in the opposite, but people's apathy one has been fueled by racism, and it shows up in everything. It's not completely. I'm not going to say it's completely fueled by racism, but there's a lot of it there, and it seems to be sort of a dominant ideology that sort of runs everything. So now, taking it back to the topic at hand, you have an administration that was originally there for the vid, and everything sort of happened in succession after. They can pretty much tell us and make us do what they want to do because of the apathy. Now, don't get it twisted. It's not just the current administration side that's apathetic to what's going on in the government. It was also the other side. And with the last administration, well, what a dumpster fucking fire, right? But I keep forgetting this damn thing fucking goes into fucking sleep mode while I'm talking. Anyway, the apathy in this country from all sides allowed what was going on in the last 6-7 years. So it's not hard to sort of make that leap to what's going on in Africa, and it being the same companies, but now they don't have scrutiny. They don't have to worry about bad press. I mean, they really don't worry about it here. You see, they come out, and they make it seem like they're really worried, but again, they don't give a fuck because we can't do shit about any of this. That's the problem, and that's why I'm saying the apathy is what allows us for going, because nobody's gonna do anything. They lined up for the vid willingly, and maybe people were dying from whether it was what caused it or what was the fix. People was like, I'm lining up for it. And it was the same thing. That was the same thing in the movie. These people, but you think about it, right? You strip up country and the people of their resources and their ability to govern themselves and their ability to create for themselves and their ability to create for their future. You can inflict anything on them. And you can use them as guinea pigs for a fucking medicine that, one, wouldn't have been needed if you didn't inject these viruses into the community to begin with. And two, weren't using them in order to generate wealth. And it isn't just about generating money either. Let's not make no mistake. You know what I mean? Because AIDS was such a killer, we can only surmise that it was created to do just that. I don't know. But it was just with the movie, it was just, that's the hard part, is because even though it is a movie, you see the faces of these and the effect, and you understand in the aftermath of what had gone on to these human beings. I just have to keep expressing that because we're not talking about fucking animals. We're not talking about just throwaways. These are human fucking beings. Yeah, they try to see if I missed anything that are in my notes. I mean, again, also one of the big things for these areas and inflicted upon these people is forced sterilization. So much I hear from certain news outlets or people online, and we hear about female circumcision, forced female circumcision. But nobody wants to ever talk about forced sterilization. Sterilization, they were sometimes not even forced, it was tricked into it. To come take this medicine, it'll help you with your children and help you with X, Y, and B. And next thing you know, you can't have children. And that's now, that's not something that spreads. Sterilization doesn't spread. They have to come in and take the stuff to be sterilized. So now you're forcing that upon people under the guise of helping, in order to create what? Workers, more people that need. I mean, there's a myriad of things that happens based off of the fact that you introduce these health things, and that goes again to our times, because based off of what we went through with the vid, they were able to generate value and get money, create money off of that alone. I don't know. Maybe I'm fucked up. As you know, a lot of people, when you start talking about these things, right, they want to scoff and they want to, put their nose up and look at you like you're fucked up for even talking about that. And it was even a scene in the movie where the first the protagonists meet, and they're in a sort of school setting where Ralph finds he's teaching this class, or he's giving a lecture. Just I don't know if it's a class, but it's like a. Yeah, I think it's a class or something along those lines. And Rachel Wise is one of the people in there, and there's banter back and forth, and she's talking about what's going on in Africa, and the beating heart liberal she is, she starts shooting all these facts about what the government's doing to the country and this, that, and the other. And, the people in this setting, they scoffed at her for, it's like, well, we don't need to hear this. And they all left, and chastising her for why are you bringing these facts up? Why are you telling us what bad we're doing? Why are you making us feel bad about, about being part of that? That just lets you know that this is how we're thought of in life. And like I said, what the fuck can be done about any of this? Nothing. Like it said in 1984, it is going to be forever from now until the system of control that has been implemented is from now on. And based off of this movie and all the other movies that I've sort of gone through with these podcasts, this is nothing. This is not new. It's all been a systematic plan. Oh well, it was a heartbreaking movie. It was a heartbreaking movie. Again, I'm not going to go over the whole synopsis. I want you to watch it. You don't have to go to Patreon to watch it because it's going to be on Patreon. And it's $5 a month, and you get to see all the movies I have on there. I also have other stuff on there, or going to put more stuff. I got some music stuff I'm working on that I'm gonna put on there. I also got some edible video that's on Patreon right now, so definitely check me out on Patreon. Or you could just watch the movie. It's all good either way. You watch the movie and then come back and watch the synopsis, and at least as far as it's not gonna give a synopsis, but my spiel about it. But I prefer you go to Patreon. It's $5 a month. If anybody could do that, that would be super great. I got creator that I support as well. There's a few more, like Per Nielsen. I'm trying to, as soon as I can make a little bit more money, that's going to be the next one I subscribe to. I got one I subscribe to on Patreon, like I'm saying, but Per Nielsen is my next subscription. I really got to boost up my guitar knowledge, and God, dog, he's a machine. So definitely want to subscribe to him. But anyway, anybody watching this, like I said, if you can, go over to. I can't put the link in my description box for Patreon right now because YouTube has me on timeout. I'm on punishment. But you could go to Patreon and look up Radio Rashim 69. If you want, you could watch what was it? Soylent Green. Free. And then everything else, just behind the paywall. So it's $5. Right. And actually, that may not be an easy feat these days, but it definitely helps. And also, anybody watching this, if you want to go ahead and subscribe, I got so many people that look at my shorts. Nobody's watching the long forms, which is weird. I think I'm cool enough to watch my long forms, but shit, at least if you watch my shorts, subscribe. Does it hurt? Uber helps me, so I think I'm gonna put like a little banner saying, 1,000 subscriber goal. What up? So I get myself monetized. Once I get monetized, I'm good from there because then, I'll be able to, or I'm still going to do it either way, but, gonna soup up and create more content. I got so much more shit that I'm gonna actually do. So much more stuff musically. But anyway, day's long, the sun is hot. Might as well smoke if you got some pot. I'm out.